Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button right out of the gate because you know this will be one of the best videos you've ever seen. Recently I was on Court TV and they put out a video of the segment that I was on, and it's really helped boost the subscriber count on my channel, so I really appreciate them for doing that. It's also been an opportunity for a lot of the online trolls and haters to have a heyday in there, putting out false information as usual. Now, when I put out information in the case, I'm doing it from a fact-based orientation. For example, the probable cause document is the best source of facts that we have in the case. The surveillance footage that I've been analyzing matches up to the probable cause document perfectly. They even state that the white Elantra, suspect vehicle 1, turns around in front of 500 Queen Road number 52. We see that on the surveillance footage. So we have people saying, how do you know that's an Elantra, Gray? I think it's a 300 Chrysler. Well, because law enforcement said it was. Now, if you don't want to believe law enforcement, that's up to you, but I'm trusting that they know what they're looking at. Now, originally they said a 2011 to 2013 Elantra, but it turns out that 14, 15, and 16 have almost exactly the same shape. In fact, you can swap out parts for all of those years. So, of course, later they added those on. That bothers a lot of people, as if they're sort of adding it on to make it fit Bryan Kohberger, but that's just not the reality. The reality is oh, wow, yeah, it looks like 14, 15, and 16 also match. And that includes Bryan Kohberger. So I don't understand the questioning about whether or not it's an Elantra or not. It doesn't make any sense to me. Law enforcement already stated it was. Twice in the affidavit, it mentions the exact time that the car goes back there. At 3:30, it comes around, makes its first pass, and then it makes its final pass at 4:07, and it mentions the 4:04 when it turns around. At around 4:05, it turns around at 500 Queen Road number 52. We've gone over this multiple times now, but yet it doesn't seem to sink in with a lot of people. All right, so what you're looking at on the screen right now is a graphical representation of the crime that I think speaks volumes. If you notice this larger triangle here, this represents 2:47 to 4:48 a.m. when Bryan Kohberger's phone was turned off. Yes, everybody, it was actually Bryan Kohberger's phone that was turned off. And this is the area in which it was turned off right here. See that? Now, if we zoom in to this circle here, this circle represents 3:26 to 4:25. That's the time that a white Elantra was seen in the area, and it turns out it's missing a front license plate, suspect vehicle 1. It shows up on Indian Hills Drive right over here, and it shows up in the 1122 King Road area at around 3:29. But this circle here represents 3:26 to 4:25, and 4:25 is right here when it's exiting Conestoga onto Palouse River Drive. Inside of that time frame, from 4:08 to 4:20, a white Elantra, after going around here, has to be in this area right here. It's possible, just technically possible that it pulled up over here, here, all around, back here, but it hadn't been seen leaving at a high rate of speed yet by the camera right there facing that direction. Okay, so right on the side of 1112 King Road, there's a camera, and it hadn't filmed it yet. So that means at 4:08, when the vehicle travels around right here, it has to have stopped here because at 4:20, it's heading out at a high rate of speed, and there's no other ways out here, and it did not show up on surveillance camera going back this way. It came around like this, and it stopped. So let's move it right up to that time frame. So here it is at 4:07 and 22 seconds. Here comes the white Elantra coming around, and we know it's the white Elantra because it just turned around at Queen and King Road and headed east again on Queen Road, and there it goes, making its loop around at 4:07 and 38 seconds. Now, based on my previous video, you can see that it ends up parking at 408 right here, and then it heads out at a high rate of speed at 420. And then, if you zoom in, inside of this circle right here, that's Madison Mogen's bedroom right here, a knife sheath was left on Madison Mogen's bed that contained the DNA on the button snap of the knife sheath. It contained the DNA of Bryan Kohberger, which then ties in the white Elantra that was moving around in the area, seen leaving it at a high rate of speed, the same white Elantra that was in the area from 326 to 425, and then Bryan Kohberger's phone was turned off inside of this area from 247 to 448. And don't forget that Bryan Kohberger turned his phone on near Blaine, Idaho here, heading south away from Moscow, Idaho. So just in short, if I was just going to summarize what I just said really quickly, you look at it like this. Between 247 and 448, Bryan Kohberger's phone was turned off inside of this area. Between 326 and 425, a white Elantra matching the description of Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, suspect vehicle 1, was inside of this circle right here, and it made 4 passes. Then between 408 and 420, that one Elantra, that same white Elantra, can only be in this area right here for 12 minutes, right inside of here. In fact, I guess it could be even back in there, right? So if I was going to make it work even better, I'll add this back here, and yes, it could be parked back in this area here, okay? So inside of between 408 and 420, the white Elantra has to be in this area right here, and then it turns out inside of that area, in Madison Mogen's bedroom, a knife sheath was left that had Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. And let's see what it says right here in the brctv13.com article from Pennsylvania when they're quoting a Michael Mancuso, who is the Monroe County First Assistant. He said, Mr. Kohberger was found awake in the kitchen area, dressed in shorts and a shirt, and wearing latex medical-type gloves, and apparently was taking his personal trash and putting it into separate Ziploc bags. Mancuso tells us that discovery cleared up another part of the investigation. Mancuso says a trash pull that was done days before recovered DNA profiles, but not from him, only from his family members. Well, that's absolutely what Bryan Kohberger intended. That's why he was separating his garbage out of the family trash so that his DNA wouldn't be found, and he was putting it into his neighbor's trash. State police say they were looking for anything that may shed light on the mental state of Kohberger or the victims, including drugs or medications. But we're told these actions speak for themselves. Mancuso says it could very well explain some of the other aspects of the case from Idaho, some of the lengths that a person would go to avoid having their DNA left behind when they know or should have known there was an investigation underway. And that's what I've always said. I think that Bryan Kohberger used some blood spatter mitigation by perhaps using plastic bags, putting his bloody clothing in before he entered his car, doing specific things to really minimize the exposure of his vehicle to blood. And I've said that since the beginning, and I think that's what's going on. He also washed his car over and over again. He was seen cleaning it. I mean, you know, people clean their cars, but this guy cleaned it like it was brushing his teeth. I mean, he did it every single... Oh, I don't know how often he brushes his teeth. But, you know, all the people that love Bryan Kohberger probably think he brushes his teeth every day and has that big smile on his face in the courtroom. How could he be a bad person? So anyways, the question I want to ask all of you pro-burgers out there, the people that believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent or is being screwed over, can you give me a plausible reason why Bryan Kohberger would be sifting through his family trash, putting his garbage into separate plastic bags, and putting that garbage into neighbors' garbage cans. Remember, he just would have been driving back from Pullman, Washington to Pennsylvania, and he got pulled over twice in Indiana, and that would have been weird. But if he hadn't committed any crimes, wouldn't he just go home and just act like normal, and maybe every once in a while at a bar or something mention, man, I got pulled over twice in like 10 minutes one time. Boy, that was weird. But the thing is, he didn't do that. It made him paranoid about his DNA. And why would that make him paranoid about his DNA? Why was he concerned about his DNA when he got back home? I think that those 2 times he was pulled over made him paranoid. He thought that they were onto him, and he started trying to hide his DNA because he knows that he left that knife sheath on the bed in Madison Mogen's bedroom. And he doesn't know if there's some other possibility of some of his DNA being left at the crime scene. There is zero rational explanation as to why Bryan Kohberger, in a rational, totally explainable way, was sitting around and apparently did this often, would separate his trash out of the family trash and put it into the neighbor's garbage can. Can anybody out there that makes up all the excuses in the world, saying it's a 300 Chrysler, it's police officers doing their loops around, etc., can you explain this away? Please put the answer in the comment section and try to do it in a way that actually makes sense. But go ahead, type it in. Come up with a rational reason why he would do this. And thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to think through and watch the video that I made. Also, if you could hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit the notification bell and select all videos. That way you'll be sure not to miss any of my future videos. I think I make videos in a way that are really easy to understand and make sense given the facts of the case. The reason that I'm on some of the shows that I'm on occasionally is because I put together factual information. It's not some la-la land stuff that a lot of people like to say. You see it out there. People don't like when you don't entertain the conspiracy theories that they're interested in, okay? Now, soon, I'm going to be putting out a video that is 1 hour and 50 minutes long. Around that time, okay? It's going to show every single movement of Bryan Kohberger in his white Elantra on the night of the murders. It's from inside the vehicle. So you'll literally get to see all the different places that the vehicle went, and I'll even use, again, the surveillance footage on those particular parts, but it'll be from within the vehicle. And after you watch that, if things are still confusing to you, I'm sorry, I did my best, okay? And that's all I have for you on this video. So thank you all very much for watching. And that's all I have on this video, everyone. So again, thank you all for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.